that from Krishna, this line to Chaturmukh Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyas, from Vyas to Madhva. And we're told Vyas that Madhva, in Badrikashram, he went and met Vyasadeva. Right? We were talking about Badrikashram yesterday. Sometimes Guru Maharaj will say how Vyas was seated on the banks of the Saraswati River in his ashram, and it was lower at that time. And in time, it became higher and higher and higher as we hear when the lands push together. But on the banks of the Saraswati, and that the line, the Saraswatas, sometimes called Saraswata Brahmins, there's some significance there. And also, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Sometimes when Guru Maharaj is representing his name, as in the sloka, Bilasitu Hridi Nityam Bhakti Siddhanta Bani, he's taken Saraswati, since she's the goddess of learning, knowledge, and speech, to be, so Saraswati, from Saraswati he gets Vani, what he says. And when asked about Saraswati, Guru Maharaj has described him in a song as Kripaya Hari Kirtana Murti Dharam. He's the Hari Kirtan Murti. He's Krishna Katha personified, singing and dancing. But we didn't witness that externally. Right? When someone asks, oh, Saraswati Thakur, because Guru Maharaj was told is a good dancer, and Saraswati Thakur, and Guru Maharaj said, and he went, Prabhupada? Like, inconceivable. And then we think, well, wait, he's leading all the kirtan, the glorification of Krishna, all of our gurus. Everyone's guru came from Saraswati Thakur. In fact, like the ultimate brand, even the opposition was created by Saraswati Thakur. But so if in case the mind started getting carried away, thinking, but wasn't he singing and dancing? Guru Maharaj said, his every movement was dance, and everything that he ever voiced was kirtan. Non-stop kirtan. Everything he ever said, his every movement was dance. And then we hear that is described in the Brahma Samhita, in the spiritual world, in Goloka Vrindavan. Their every movement is dance. Everything they say is song. When the neighbors are complaining about Krishna to Mother Yashoda, that's a song. The complaint is a song, and her response is a song. They're singing about Gopal's pastimes of stealing butter from their houses. That's a song. They're singing. And Mother Yashoda is singing a song back, saying, why don't you put some yogurt, butter, put these things on the table within view, so when he comes, instead of creating a massacre, he'll just take that butter and yogurt and go. She suggests that as a solution. And they say, no, you don't understand. You're Gopal. He likes stealing. It's not just that he's attracted to the butter and yogurt. He likes the very act of stealing. So Guru Maharaj would caution us, then what will we do? Find out our Lord is a thief. He's a lawbreaker. All these shastric laws and everything, not meant for Krishna. No. Anyway. Tene Brahma Hrida Vyas, the great Veda Vyas. What is he primarily in a nutshell? I mean, in Guru Maharaj's type of terminology, he's extracting the inner meaning of the scripture. He's giving revealed truth. That's what revealed truth is. In the modern world, people like to think that they're original and that there's no detectable influence in them. They're just original. How they sprung up, we don't know, but that they're original. Right? They're not imitating anyone. They're not under the influence of anyone. But one great scholar, literary analyst, he said, actually, to be inspired is to be influenced. That's a good thing. We celebrate that. Divine inspiration. It's Veda Vyas. This whole Bhagavatam, which is the book of Krishna, the Krishna book, it's going to reveal the truth, Krishna Tattva, about Krishna. He begins, Janmadyasya yatonvayad itaratas cha arteshu abhignasvarat tene brahma hridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsuraya. Krishna conception is bewildering to the gods and goddesses, including Brahma, right? The very Brahma, we can say, in the Sampradaya, he is in Brahma Vimohan Leela of Krishna, but at the same time, in his heart is being revealed the truth about Krishna. Right? So that he says, Nomi jate bravo puse taridam baraya. Right? Now, rain came a little bit, and soon more rain will come. And Madhusudama, as you mentioned the other day, we're told, what is the complexion of Krishna? Shama Sundar. But what's the, Ganashyam means like the cloud, monsoon rain, that type of complexion. But the devotees are saying, on account of that, he's very difficult to see. Nomi jate, it says abra vapu, means cloud-like. Difficult to see. Taridambaraya, but he's revealed by the lightning-like dress of his potency, right? His Shakti. Today, or I should say, as they give Jai to Nityananda Shakti, Janavi Devi Ki Jai, Rama Shakti, Sita Devi Ki Jai. The Shakti aspect, revealing, contrasting Krishna and revealing Krishna conception. So, Guru, there's many different meanings. One is heavy, like Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam, Shabde Pare Chinishnatam Brahmanupa Samasrayam, who's so taken shelter in Krishna to the degree that they're, in Krishna conception to the degree that they're unmoved by any misconception. When I was reading Bhagavad Gita as a teenager, and Krishna saying, of this, I'm that, the Vibhuti section. Rasoham apsakonte, I'm the light of the sun, prabhasmi shashishuryo. So when it came to mountains, I thought, well, now he will say, and of mountains, I'm the Himalayas. And he didn't say that. He said, of mountains, I am Meru, Sumeru. But interestingly, I thought, oh, no Himalaya. But then he said, of immovable objects, I'm Himalaya. Other things might move on that mountain, but they don't move. Right? Immovable by all these other things that are going on. So, Shabde Pare Chinishnatam Brahmanupa Samasrayam. So deeply sheltered in Krishna conception. Immovable by any alternative idea or concept. So Srila Gurudev, he liked this idea of, and expressed it many times, saying the transaction of Krishna consciousness is heart to heart. And that's a very sweet way of putting it, but it's actually mentioned in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam by Veda Vyas, Tene Brahma Hrida, that Brahma was enlightened in his heart, And then he shared that with his sons, followers, particularly Narada. And then from Narada to Vyas. And interestingly, from Narada to Vyas, some chastisement coming from Narada toward Vyas. Told the great, we're saying Vyas Puja, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, how indebted we are to him. He's revealed all the scriptures, compiled them, structured them, distributed them, that he's feeling some despondency, and in his ashram on the banks of the Saraswati, in that place we mentioned, and Narada approaches him and says, I know what the cause of your despondency is. It is that you've not fully revealed Krishna conception and all its beauty, charm, and sweetness, and informed everyone that they have the potential of a divine, loving relationship with Krishna. Although it's in what you said, but the way you presented it, although inadvertently, people might take it in some other way. They might think the only chance they have for expressing their loving propensities is in this world. So you have to make it clear to the people that there's a chance for what Guru Maharaj called a life of love with Krishna. Muktir hitmanyata rupam svaropena vivastiti. So then we see he's the great Veda Vyas. Guru Maharaj tried to explain this to a group of devotees one time. But Narada can come and chastise him. Vyas is told, accepted as a Shaktavesh avatar. But he can be chastised by another devotee who's in a superior position. So then we understand by analysis that every guru is the disciple of another guru. Guru Maharaj is told that when Madras, Saraswati Thakur gave some comparison about his own position. And Guru Maharaj said, although we didn't like to hear it, but Saraswati Thakur said, I'm like the monitor of a class. Right? That means one of the teacher's students, in the absence of that teacher, he becomes the monitor of that class. So then the teaching position shifts to him. So that's told by no less than Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is Prabhupada. As we heard from the beginning, one meaning of Prabhupada, it's mentioned Charitamritam, whom all the other Prabhus, they take shelter of that. That's why Gurudev started saying Bhagavan Saraswati Thakur, as when Swami Maharaj became known as Prabhupada all over the world. Saying some extra significance or honorific we want to give to Saraswati Thakur, started telling Bhagavan Saraswati Thakur. But that person, Bhagavan Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when his disciples would approach him, Guru Maharaj told, he's bowing to them and saying, Dashoshmi. And he's more than that, bowing. So much so that when Srila Guru Maharaj, before he had joined Gaudiya Math, and he's at Gaura Purnima festival, and he sees that Saraswati Thakur, he's giving dandavats to like everyone. So when he comes, he just goes like this. And one devotee pulled him aside, like, what are you doing, And Guru Maharaj said, I'm thinking he has to bow down, he'll become exhausted, so not to waste his energy on me. And the man said, oh. But first the man was chastising him, like, don't you understand? You should bow before Guru. But he told, Dashoshmi. That means, I'm your servant. And actually, that's the fact. We think, no, like the Chinese say, Shifu, right? Means master. But the master is the servant of his disciples. Just as the pujari, when they're the sadhaka, the archak, they're taking flowers and making them fit to be offered to Krishna. By the way, while we're on the subject, You know, we don't take the flowers from the ground, but from the tree. If they've already fallen down, we're not using those. So they need to be cleaned, made presentable. Same thing with the prasadam. We're cleaning, preparing the paraphernalia. So in that sense, the archak is the servant of the fruit, the servant of the flower, the servant of the paraphernalia. So the guru is made through instructions, shiksha primarily, is making the disciples fit to be offered to Krishna. Right? So sometimes it's thought like that. They're like the flowers, and the servitor is taking the flowers and making them fit to be offered to Krishna. I remember on the veranda in Calcutta at Dum Dum Park, when it was filled with so many of Gurudev's disciples, but he turned to me and he said, and they're honoring him in different ways, and he said, really, he said, I think they are all gifts of Guru Maharaj. He said that. They're all gifts of Guru Maharaj. That was a very sweet word to use. Guru Maharaj, in explaining that philosophically, would say, the disciples are extensions of Guru. So the person acting in the agent, as the Guru agent, if he thinks these disciples are vaibhavs or extensions of my Guru, then they're worshipable to me. Some particular services come to me that I am unable to perform myself. So my Guru is so merciful, he's manifested himself in the form of so many apparent assistants to help me do that service. Saraswati Thakur saw like that. They say when Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj left the world and Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj was, he had come with another devotee, incidentally, from Calcutta. He was very skeptical of anyone and everyone. And he said, these so-called Paramahansas, like, I've had it with you. And someone said, no, they're still a real one. And he said, really? And they said, yes, his name is Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and he's in Navadip. Then we must go. He and his friend, they went, and they arrived on the disappearance day of Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And they don't know what to do. And some people they said, well, he has one disciple who lives in Mayapur. So he's sent. Tirtha Maharaj and one other, he's Kunja Babu, not even Kunja Babu yet. So they go, they're crossing that river we go across, Jalangi, and Saraswati, Jalangi, that area. They're crossing. Saraswati Thakur is coming. Somehow news has come to him. He's coming. But the reason I'm mentioning this is Saraswati Thakur sees him, and he sees him as Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, as his vaibhav, his agent, his extension. And he's thinking, he's come to assist me in the seva. That type of vision. So Prabhupada said, Guru Maharaj said, they all say, the Mahabhagavata Guru doesn't accept anyone as disciple. Sees them all as extensions of Guru. And another example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there was one disciple, his name was, I believe, Bhagavat Janananda. And they even eventually named one of the Gaudiya Mats after him. But they found, news came to Saraswati Thakur that he'd left the world, and Saraswati Thakur was overwhelmed with grief, and he was saying, Bhaktivinoda Thakur came to me, and I couldn't recognize him. So he's saying, that man, I saw him, he was Bhaktivinoda, he came to me, and I couldn't recognize it. Hare Krishna. So Sometimes Guru Maharaj would say, you can read in Sri Guru and His Grace, what this is all about. He'll say, it's all a spiritual transaction. The spiritual man is going to the spiritual world, by the spiritual mantram, from the spiritual, everything is spiritual. So it's a particular way of seeing. Guru Maharaj is telling, acquire the proper angle of vision means to dismiss acquired prejudice. We have a tendency to view everything in terms of the objective world. And it's understandable. We live in the objective world. So when we get some news from the objective world or make some observations about the objective world or hear from the scientists who are there studying the objective world incessantly, it's easy for us to become deluded by that, distracted from what is genuinely spiritual, or even to view what is spiritual from an objective perspective. But we're cautioned against that, to rather see, in Guru Maharaj's words, to dive deep into reality, to see beneath the surface. That Guru Parampara song is about a particular current, a line of devotional current that's descending into this plane. Guru Maharaj told, there's a saying about the Ganga, because we're talking about those rivers, Jalangi, Saraswati. Sometimes the Jamuna or Ganga is coming and entering the current of another river, becomes known by that name. Sometimes another river is entering the current of the Jamuna, then it becomes Jamuna. So Guru Maharaj said, the saying is, what is the river really is the undercurrent. What's deep, that current that's driving it, that's what it is. So from the spiritual point of view, what was inspired in the heart of Brahma, and it says, Parampar Jena Prakriti by Chitra, he turned around, spoke, revealed that to his sons and disciples. But then we're told it underwent some modification according to individual temperament. So then they spoke that to another, and there's a parampara, a line of descent. But we learn in time, sometimes it becomes lost. It becomes, shall we say, modified beyond recognition. Right? I thought when I was a teenager reading Bhagavad Gita, this made me happy to hear this. Because everywhere else I'd heard up to that point, they're saying, no, this is the truth, there's nothing beyond it, it's just perfect forever. But in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Imam vivasvate yogan proktavan aham avivam manuriks vakavebhavi, what is it? Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshyo vidu sa kalaneha nashta yogo nashta parantapa. He said, in the course of time, this was lost. That I thought, oh, so they admit that can happen. This sounds more real to me. And then he said, therefore I'm speaking it again. Better. So that they're recognizing it can be lost, modified beyond recognition. The truth can be converted into something false. Good. That's what we also see. But what does that do? It opens the door for the necessity of fresh realization. Bhaktivinoda Thakur deals with this point in the Bhagavad talk. He says, the truth is inevitably, invariably converted into error. That happens. It happens to us. So it can happen individually and collectively. He said, but that means that revelation, divine revelation, will be continually necessary. That's the beautiful thing. And that's the labor of love of each generation, right, who received something. Guru Maharaj said after Saraswati Thakur, We always think we're the first to hear all these different things, and everything in the Gaudiya Math was there. So after the disappearance of Saraswati Thakur, they're traveling around someplace, and they met with this one gentleman, and he was polite and respectful. He said, but, quite frankly, we don't see any amongst you of that level of Saraswati, So he's like, don't mind it, but, And Guru Maharaj, the devotees, as usual, they find Guru Maharaj to talk to the man. And Guru Maharaj said, yes, we can understand what you're saying, not to that magnitude. Yes, that we understand. But didn't he come to give something? You recognize in him this spiritual substance, and you're saying he came to give it. And I was happy to hear this because I was employing a similar argument with the disciples of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, which went something like this, and say, you say Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. He inundated the world with Krishna. And I also say that, and I agree with that. But is there no one who's an example of that? That would call into question this spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world and flooding the world with Krishna consciousness. Every man, woman, and child. And we celebrate that and from our heart, and we believe it. But then you can't say he leaves the world or withdraws his manifest pastimes, and then no one has anything. Like that easily, it all vanishes. That can't be. So Guru Maharaj told him, he said, it may not be to that magnitude. And to speak of Srila Swami Maharaj, Guru Maharaj himself would say to his disciples, he has done like an ocean, and we are like a pond, But on that point, I like to say that Gurudev made his own observation about Guru Maharaj and other exalted God brother preachers. 3, I won't mention the names. 1 is Guru Maharaj, though. And they're all exalted personalities. And this shows something about the variegatedness, the variety of Krishna consciousness. And it's also classic Gurudev, how he can analyze everything perfectly, and Guru Maharaj always comes out on top. So he said, and he loves all of them, these Maharajas. And he said, remember, Gurudev would enlist them in the service of the Math. Just like Srila Avadut Maharaj, he's always willing to grab everybody and employ them in the service of the mission that he's inherited as a charge of Russian mission and et al. So Gurudev, he's getting these different exalted disciples of Saraswati Thakur who have some appreciation from Guru Maharaj, and he arranges program, and they're like the lead preacher, and he takes a secondary position, but using them, and they're happy also. So he knew how they preach, how they represent. Remember back to Brahma and his sons, and everyone's hearing, and they're, according to their temperament, some modification is there, they give a representation. So Gurudev said of one, he said, him like gushing like a waterfall, like shh. He said, his delivery, and he said, but not so clear what's being said. Right? And then another, he said, like a pond, so clear, but a little stagnant. Right? He said, and what is Guru Maharaj like? He said, a fountain springing from the unknown quarter, giving something fresh at every moment. That we like. So again, not, as Guru Maharaj told, not the magnitude, that we won't, that would be an absurd proposition. So as he told, yes, but you believe that Saraswati Thakur, he has the power to give what he came to give? Yes, I believe it. Then there must be some evidence of that in his followers. Right? Then Srila Swami Maharaj came, similar situation. And I just mean by this, that everyone who has some recognition from Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev Prabhupada, they've got something. That's what I mean to say. We will say in the line of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he says, Jagai madhai hoite murise papishta, purise rakita hoite murise lagishta. I said to Guru Maharaj once, all right, Kaviraj Goswami is saying this. I said, but Maharaj, what if you actually are more sinful than Jagai and Madhai? And he said, oh, such plenary, that's like descending. And I could not defeat him. I thought, what will he say to that? And he said, oh, that sentiment has come to you. It's like the real feeling. He said, yes, devotee will feel like that, but where we will part with that type of thought is what's been gifted to us from our Guru Varga. And that's where we will say, what I'm telling you now, what came from my Guru Maharaj, from my Guru Varga, there's nothing higher than this. Yes, I may be so many things, but of this substance, what they've gifted us, we can't deny the beauty of it, how sweet and irresistible it is. So, and still we will say the gift to appreciate it also comes from the Guru Varga. That we think too. Mahaprabhu says to Sarvabhauma, I'm a young sannyasi, I don't know what's right or wrong, what to ask or not ask. You please instruct me. I would find these things in the scriptures and present them to Guru Maharaj. He's delighted to hear these things, but I was applying them to him. I say, I now feel in a simple. At first I thought I knew I had so many questions to ask him. In time, I thought maybe you should be a little more quiet and listen to Guru Maharaj's line of thinking. Shelve what you think you know, and then listen to that, let that enter you, and then you'll be in a position to understand what you thought you had up to that point. But so in a similar way, told him, I don't know what to say, what to ask, what's proper. You know those things. You know what I need to hear. He had the certificate from Srila Saraswati Thakur that he can perfectly represent him and that he would be the Bhakti Siddhanta Vani, that voice of Saraswati Thakur, the senior godbrothers, they're going to Guru Maharaj for that. Right? They're thinking, that's what that, in the song, too, the Prabhu line, I asked Gurudev about that once. It's in the songbook. When he's got the mala, he looks like Prabhu. It can be translated as the Lord or in reference to Srila Saraswati Thakur. Gurudev said, what they're saying is the godbrothers would see Saraswati Thakur in him. There's Lord Prabhu, but Prabhupada. We also saw that in Srila Guru Maharaj, and he gave us Srila Gurudev to watch over, and anyone who connected with Guru Maharaj really had to be under the care, guidance, and auspices of Srila Gurudev. That was their arrangement. So always together. And Guru Maharaj is talking about Srila Swami Maharaj, when devotees are praising him, he's saying, perhaps we are from the same plane. And he would say sometimes, in glorifying Saraswati Thakur and his Harikatha, that they're above watching this transaction and giving us some grace. So really, when I think of my good fortune, there's this word, trifecta, which means 3 times perfect. So I have a small group of godbrothers and godsisters who mercifully, our Guru, they have a connection of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. That is our incredibly good fortune, and we're even more graced by them to be surrounded by all of you who give us repeated opportunities to sing their glories and to try and reproduce what we've heard from them. That's what we're trying to do. However, miserably we're failing at that, but that's what we're really trying to do. Kanaka Kamini, Pratishta, we're trying to, the Pratishta, the name and fame, really is to be offered at the lotus feet of our Guru Varga. And personally, I'm very especially blessed that Srila Gurudev indicated that I should serve along with Srila Bhakti Bimal Avadut Maharaj. When I asked Gurudev what he wanted me to do, if he wanted me to make more books or what sort of, he said, there is one boy named Jagannath Ballava I would like you to meet. He was Jagannath Ballava Prabhu at the time. And then we met and decided what would be some preaching program. And it's kind of funny because the first, I go there, get the money at Western Union. Satya Sundar Prabhu is there. Anyway, I arrive in Moscow and I'm supposed to go to Kiev and I missed my flight. The connecting flights were two. This is the first time I'm going to go preach with Avadut Maharaj. I arrive in Moscow and miss the flight to Kiev. And I don't have a ticket. And I don't have a visa for Russia. I'm at, Sheremetyevo, that airport there. So, but I see Avadut Maharaj. He's running around and going in one room, coming out in a meeting. I can see kind of like through the glass, he's doing all kinds, and then I see like money coming out and going and different things, And then suddenly I'm told like, you have a visa now and you can go to Moscow for a day. So I went to Avtozavodskaya for like an evening where you can look out on the whole of Moscow, and it's like Krishna wanted that to happen, with all due respect to Kiev. I was in Kiev the next day, but I got to see Moscow from the top of that temple we used to have there, the apartment, where you can see the whole city pretty much. And I was warmly received by all the Russian devotees, and they were asking, and in Kiev also, when I say, are there any questions? And last time I'd been there was like 1978, 79, like that, where we were preaching pretty undercover. This time I'd say, so are there any questions? And someone raised it, and they go, in Sri Guru and His Grace, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says. I almost fainted. I thought, what? Like all these people, they know who Guru Maharaj is. They've read Search for Sri Krishna, Sri Guru and His Grace. How did this happen? That means Bhakti Bimal Avadut Maharaj. And if you ask him, how did it happen? He'll say, Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda, he asked Gurudev, what should he do? Gurudev said, take Guru Maharaj's teachings to Russia. He wasn't in Russia, he was in America. And actually, he wasn't thinking of leaving either. He was sort of content to be there. But Gurudev said, please take this to Russia. And that's another history. But so it's like these, I remembered back to Guru Maharaj telling me, when the first time I met him personally, with Bhakti Abhay Narayan Maharaj at my side, and we were like, AWOL, absent without leave, from ISKCON early in the morning during Mangal Arati. We'd gone to the Chaitanya Saraswati, crossed that river that we're talking about. Got in the flow of another current. And that's when Babaji Maharaj we found him in Hari Charan Prabhu's room, and he took us upstairs to meet Srila Guru Maharaj. So every devotee plays. Babaji Maharaj doesn't like preach to people normally. He only tells you to chant the holy name or slokas about the holy name. That's what he's always telling everybody to do. Once with Sarva Bhavana Prabhu, we asked him a series of questions one night on Ekadashi, and every question, no matter how long it was, no matter how complicated it was, everybody would lean forward to hear his answer, and he'd go, Hare Krishna. That was the answer. Or Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Every answer to every question was that you should chant the holy name, you should incessantly chant the holy name, you should take shelter of chanting the holy name. But when we went there and he told us that, I wanted to make a recording of him, and he said, he was annoyed, saw like I slid out the tape recorder, and I said, so many disciples of Saraswati Thakur, they're leaving the world. Proper kirtan will be lost if you could. And he said, important thing is that you chant Hare Krishna. So we started chanting in front of him, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. After a few rounds, he lightened up a little bit, started smiling. And then he hopped off that wooden bed and he went like, come, come. And we followed him and went up the staircase, and there was Guru Maharaj in the morning in the chair, and wrapped in all, so many layers of scarves and clothes. Anyway, we gave our Shastanga Dandavats, approached him. I was in a little bit of a state of disbelief. But when Guru Maharaj asked, where are you preaching? He said, in Eastern Europe, and I've just been to Russia. He said, there was a cloud of atheism hanging over the country. He said, then Swami Maharaj went there and preached. The cloud dissipated, and now you can go there and preach successfully. We looked at each other. We'd never heard anything like that. It was very inspiring. And I can see in the long term that, so to get some blessings for Prabhupada to preach in Russia and Ukraine and the Russian-speaking countries, and then again from Guru Maharaj. And then when I asked Guru, what should I do? He's saying, with him. So it's kind of clear that that's what I'm supposed to do. So we're trying to serve the Russian mission also, to assist Srila Avadut Maharaj, and beg you all to forgive my innumerable offenses and inadequacy in doing that service. But by the grace of you all and the grace of our Guru Varga, we'll keep trying. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Bhakti Sandra Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhagavan Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Brinda Ki Jai, Jai Srila Bhakti Vimalabhadut Maharaj Ki Jai. And if Sripad Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj, if he says a few words, I'll be saved.